Welcome back, I'm Inigo, this is Scrambled Kegs, and as I was making the Fallout New Vegas canon ending breakdowns, I had to search for clips or videos to double check a bunch of stuff. Some of them included Robert House, so naturally YouTube started recommending me videos of a different kind of house, this guy, and it made me realize how we're all doing slop content wrong. Let me explain. So most shows want to be too highbrow and award bait, but in reality and historically most movies and TV shows are slop. They're made to be consumable, easy to digest, but they're the good kind of slop, and I think we've lost that kind of art. It's like, to paint a good picture, on the far left of the spectrum you have like the award bait type of TV shows, movies, content in general. On the far right you have like the soap opera. That's way too much slop. Because in the middle lies the lost art of the procedural and episodic TV shows with a formula. So at one far end of the spectrum you get all the critical acclaim, the awards, and a good Wikipedia page, and maybe YouTube channels like Watch Mojo or What Culture talk about your TV show from time to time, but by and large most people will just watch you maybe once forever and ever, maybe once in a while. This is the highbrow, high art side of things. These are the movies that your favorite actors pick in the Criterion cabinet thing, right? And on the other far end of the spectrum you get soap operas that don't really need to exist anymore, at least in my opinion, since Twitter and streamers have enough, and I'll even argue, even juicier drama being generated regularly, and that is like peak slop. That other side is peak slop. Then you have something in the middle, like the procedural and episodic TV shows that, because they have a lot of episodes and they stick to a very predictable formula, it's technically slop. These shows would run for like half of a year, one episode per week, as usually 22 to 24 weeks. Sometimes they take breaks, but usually it's about half the year. That's why they're called seasons. But there's a lot more quality, substance, and better storytelling that makes it sort of like the best of both worlds. You know, it's the daywalker. They're using the methods of the darkness to serve the light. And if anything, most of YouTube videos already follow this kind of formula. Most videos, and as someone who watches a lot of these, who also has started to make these kinds of videos, most videos you see on YouTube actually follow this very predictable formula. Most creators just plug in the topic into that sort of like framework that they want to talk about, and then that just sorts itself out. But most talented creators are able to do that without you noticing it or picking up on it. And TV shows used to have the same thing. Very predictable, very familiar formulas that people enjoy. CSI, for example, has a very predictable plot per episode. House notoriously follows a very strict formula that they sometimes break during mid-season or actual season finales. It always starts the same way. Someone gets sick, there's an initial diagnosis, there's a back and forth between different diagnoses, testing different theories and experiments. Somehow the patient gets super sick, there's a drama point, and then something so far left field makes House realize, oh shit, this is what's actually making the person sick. And then somehow they cure it, and everything sort of like wraps around that. All the character development, all the character interactions, grand season arcs that span across the entire season or even like the entire series. Per episode, they follow a predictable plot and then they write around that kind of thing. And to this day, like clips from the House TV show's official YouTube channel still rake in like millions of views, which means people like that shit. And it's crazy because that kind of structure, that kind of predictability lets you do a lot of these episodes and pump them out weekly. And that's crazy in this day and age, streaming or content landscape. Like most shows are, 10 episodes? Maybe less? And then in the case of Stranger Things, it's kind of funny because they were supposed to be kids, and if they had like 5 seasons, especially with 8 or 10 episodes back in the day, they would still look like teenagers, teenagers, not like 20-year-olds. Because they used to make these things year after year, every single year. Well, what seems to be the problem? Well, I think it's that when these studios transitioned into streaming, that whole Netflix model, which they just copied, I think it's fine if you copy the whole website structure and how you organize your TV shows, but not necessarily the business model. I think for a lot of these studios, they copied Netflix to the T, but then they stopped being TV shows. And that sort of transition period killed the episodic TV format, because at the time shows had much smaller budgets than they do now. These were, at the time, they were experimental, like the mid 2010s. Stranger Things was like the biggest proof of concept that you can just produce something, release it online. But before that, Stranger Things I think even existed at the same time when all these legacy shows were starting to wrap up their plots, which also coincided when these shows were transitioning off of TV into streaming. That's going to be another video. Anyways, the thing that bothers me though is that as these studios began investing into their own streaming services and making that happen, budgets became bigger for these TV shows, but then all of a sudden they forgot like what makes a lot of views historically. And this is where the slop part comes in. Because to this day, reality TV, I don't think never ever really died. Because apparently there's this thing called MILF Manor, and it's like the reverse Epstein Island, at least based on what I saw in the pilot. Except they're all legal and, MILF seducing young dudes. But those types of TV shows never went away. And those are incredibly formulaic, they're incredibly easy to make, there's a lot of these episodes. Somehow these shows were the ones that survived into streaming, but then other shows that, especially like the old sitcom models, they just died. So now the question remains, like, why don't we have more of these episodic TV shows that everyone likes? These 20-30 minute episodes, again, every day, or like one episode per week for like the entire year, like half the year. Everybody likes that. Where are they? I think this is best illustrated by How I Met Your Father, since that show came in and went, and it didn't really go anywhere like the show that it spun off of, How I Met Your Mother, did. And looking at the episode structure, it's pretty clear why. Here's what it looks like in IMDb. And yes, the actor strike did play a role, but they also started with just 10 episodes in season 1. And while they were able to climb up to 20 episodes in season 2, I don't think that was enough, even though they seem to be going for that formulaic 20 plus episodes per year every single year type of TV show model. It was just maybe unfortunate that the writer's strike or like the actor's strike happened. Hey guys, Editor Me here, and when I was recording it, it did make sense to me, but it doesn't make sense now. Okay, what I was trying to say was that How I Met Your Father did start off as like the modern 10 to 15 max maybe episode structure of the modern TV show, like in the streaming age. They started off like that in season 1, and in season 2 they did end up making the 22 episode 24 episode season structure, but in comparison, How I Met Your Mother started off at 22 episodes in the first season, right off the bat. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is that it's a fundamentally different approach in how you, first of all, structure your whole seasons, but also how you write your episodes within those seasons. Again, I'm not a writer from a TV show by any chance, but I did watch a lot of these back in the day, and shows just are made differently now. So back to the video. But I think the key takeaway that we need to take from all of these is the fact that the expectation of what a TV show should be, especially these days, is something that's much leaner than it used to be. Yes, an argument can be made that leaner seasons that are a lot more focused tend to be better for repeat viewing. I personally would skip the filler episodes whenever I rewatch the Clone Wars so I can focus on the actual Clone Wars, especially when I'm watching it in between episode 2 and episode 3 of Star Wars. And while you can make that kind of argument, at the same time, are we also really fully focused when we're watching these TV shows to begin with? Like, is that the point of these TV shows? To tell these engaging, fully fleshed out stories rather than, to have something on TV while you're having dinner or just chilling at the end of the workday. Emphasis on workday. And as much as I hate ads like the next person, I can actually see this formulaic 22 episodes per season model of TV coming back if it's free and it runs ads. That's the first scenario. Or if you pay for a subscription, you don't get any ads. For example, Apple TV. I don't have it. I'm interested maybe to watch those shows. I can watch some of the TV shows with ads, or if I pay for a subscription, I'll get the good stuff and watch things like Silo, or whatever Apple has. Pluribus, I think. Because at the end of the day, as a person watching these shows, these things used to be free way back when. Like, sure, you had some of these you had to pay for on cable, which is basically the same thing as subscription, but regardless, as a person watching these shows, nobody paid for shows like Mad Men or Gossip Girl or House M.D. like we do now, where you have to shell out individually every single month your subscriptions. But regardless, someone also paid for these TV shows to be made, and that's through ads. YouTube already does this so you can make a bit of money from ads to fund these free TV shows, but obviously you're going to need to tweak it so that the advertisers can reach out to you directly and you can sort of like work out a deal so that it won't be random or like targeted the way that YouTube does it, which is sort of like when Google bought YouTube, they built YouTube's ad system, which is targeted, by the way, based on your interests and stuff like that. They patterned it off of what Google used to make, and still do, with Google Ads. And so that automated advertising model might not work in this kind of scenario where, for example, if I was Coca-Cola, I would want to advertise myself guaranteed on this show, on like How I Met Your Father, if season 3 came back. And they could work out a deal and that those ads could run, and it would be the same business model as it used to be back then in TV, except this time, only how we view it changed. Now it's still on demand. Yes, you can have like weekly premieres and stuff. You can still watch it on demand, but when you're gonna watch it, you're gonna have like maybe 2 or 3 minute ad breaks 5 times per episode, and it would be the same exact TV show that used to be the thing back then, that was formulaic, that's also easy to consume, that people enjoy and like. And it could also help out the movie industry because now they created a structure where you have shows that presumably most of the world would see, and presumably, you know, a lot of the people would tune in, like in the recent Super Bowl or Stranger Things, which some analysts and like commentaries, YouTubers, people who say things online, say Stranger Things is sort of like the last big event that people really tuned in. You can create that in your own streaming platform, and you can sort of like guarantee like a certain number of eyeballs concentrated at the same time, and you can sell that kind of ad, you know, real estate, if you will. And they can switch it up too, like it doesn't have to be locked in like the ads used to be when people ripped these TV shows way back when, on like TiVo. So I guess what I'm saying is that when all these studios transitioned into streaming, they left behind a core part of both what their business model used to be and what made it work so well, and our own user experiences behind it as the people watching these shows. And both sides yearn for these things, man. Businesses want to make the same kind of money they used to do, that they're just not, that's completely flipped because everybody just copy pasted Netflix and their business model, and now everything's fucked. Even movies, Matt Damon's breakdown's been shared countless times already on how Netflix is forcing these scenes to be shown exactly this time, and I'm not going to get into that in this video. The point is, the people watching these shows also want these episodic, formulaic things that are easy to watch and easy to digest, because they don't really need to watch shows like Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones or Stranger Things at the end of the workday every single day for the entire year. For a huge chunk of the year, they just want to watch something good that isn't bad. We just want to watch something good that isn't bad and no waste of our time. Anyways, that's gonna be it for me for now. Like, subscribe, all the good stuff. I make videos like these and I'll try to do more videos like these regularly, or as much as I can, as long as I actually have something good to say like in this one. So again, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. So again, like, subscribe, share this video to the people you care about, comment down below your thoughts. Do you agree, do you not? And I hope to see you in the next one. I'm Inigo, signing off for now. Bye.